Tonight, a new organisation wants to take over the Auckland Pride Parade. Kia ora everyone, I'm Whiteside. It's been an interesting few months in Auckland as our rainbow communities have torn themselves apart over the decision by Auckland Pride to ban police uniforms from this year's parade. As you know, that got cancelled and there's been a lot of arguing ever since. Now, a new organisation called Rainbow Pride Auckland has said they're going to organise a new parade in 2020. So tonight I'm going to be talking to the chair of Rainbow Pride Auckland to see who they are and what they're planning. So Matt Bagshaw, really good to meet you.
Good to meet you too, thank you, Andrew.
And so you are the chair of Rainbow Pride Auckland and it's a new position.
That's correct, yeah. We're a new society, incorporated and registered, and we've been set up now for about 3 months. The founding members, it's pretty much the guardianship, set us up, and I was appointed as chair in March.
Let's just start with, okay, so what the RPA, let's just shorten it. What are its aims? What's it intending to do?
So RPA is hoping or aiming to deliver a Pride Parade, as well as additional events that will happen around the parade in the month of February.
So how are you going to do that? Particularly since Auckland Pride actually owns, I assume, the rights to that.
Right. No, there's no sort of set rights of ownership to any of the events. Auckland Pride have a brand. They're known. They've been around for a number of years, and up until this year, they were delivering the Pride Parade on behalf of the rainbow community here in Auckland. It didn't happen for a number of reasons, and we've been set up, as you just said, kind of the basis of why we were set up is for that reason. And actually I've been talking with Sissy Rock, who's just been re-elected as chair at Auckland Pride. We had a conversation just yesterday, in fact. We're going to work alongside them to look at what we want to deliver, what we need to put together. We don't want to duplicate, we don't want to be in conflict with what they offer. They have, as I said, a strong brand. They have previously put on the parades. I think their focus for next year is going to be on an Auckland Pride Festival, of which they will market and run a series of events. I think it's really important that we look at what we want to deliver that works alongside that so that we can together represent the community as a whole.
But isn't there a fundamental problem with having two organisations who have basically the same goal?
I don't see it as a problem. In fact, I think it's a solution.
But what if Pride says, no, the parade belongs to us, we're going to do it? We also have a festival. If you're having a competing festival, I mean, I can see problems.
Believe me, it is an absolute challenge. You're absolutely right. But like I said, we want to maintain open communication with Auckland Pride, and they do the same. The end result that both Auckland Pride wants to achieve and what RPA wants to achieve, they're exactly the same. Our approaches and our strategy to get to that end result are potentially different.
So what do you see as your difference at RPA?
In particular, and I'll come straight to the point, we will include New Zealand Police in uniform and we will include the forces if they want to get involved in actual fact.
So how do you deal with the dissent in the community around that?
Well, we'll try and help through education, I guess, and we take it as a responsibility. We're not just set up for, like I said, to create a party. We're not just set up because we have egos. It's not about that. It's about helping the community understand what's going on. And it's also actually reaching out to some members of the community that need a voice, that want to be heard, and actually helping them present that way in a way that could sort of lead to positive change.
How are you going to fund this?
Yeah, good question. We're looking for ATEED funding.
So you've started that process?
We've submitted our application, we've met with them, and we continue to file information as part of that application.
But there's been no guarantee from
No, goodness no guarantee at all. And and again, respectfully to ATEED, they need to look at what's going to support the development of business and tourism here in Auckland.
So let's have a look at your governance then. So you've got a board,
yes.
Guardianship, which is 5 people.
Yes.
And then you've got an advisory board, and the board itself has 7 people, the advisory board has 7 people.
No, 9 people.
9 people,
yes.
Okay. So that's what, 21?
Yeah.
It seems a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot of people. Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge to kind of keep it together. And we spent a lot of time in the first few meetings when we were together working out how we will work. We've taken a really structured, methodical approach to this. The guardianship are kind of like, if you want to describe them as a silent directorship, if I may. They're there to help and guide when we want it, but they're certainly not there to direct. they take very much a back seat. So as chair, I have a newly appointed co-chair. Basically comes down to logistics of travel, when one of us isn't here and so on and so forth, you need that kind of equal support. And then we have the board members and the advisory group.
So in terms of membership, so people who are actually part of this society, because all of those people are appointees, you couldn't say that it's a democratic organisation in terms of the wider community.
No, not at the moment, and it's something that we might look at. I'm confident that we're going to be able to successfully represent a community in a democratic manner without actually having to have a membership just yet.
Without democracy?
Well, it depends how you sort of define democracy.
Well, I mean, your organisation says that it's all about community involvement and, connections with the community.
Yeah.
I fully understand why it was set up this way, to avoid, I assume, the call that Auckland Pride was hijacked. Whether it was or not, there was still a democratic process involved in that. Absolutely. So I'm assuming that's what RPA has done. It's been set up like this so there couldn't be any interference from people who were seen as having an agenda.
I don't know if that was the reason behind setting up without membership. You'd have to ask the Guardians and the founding members that. I haven't had any sense that that's the case. Yes, the Constitution and our governance does state that the Guardians can override a decision. I can't see that happening. The way that we've been set up and the team that we've got on board, it won't lead to that type of dispute and conflict.
Do you not think, though, that it potentially is problematic for how this organisation is perceived, if it's all appointees?
No, I don't actually. No, okay. I think there's enough of the community out there screaming for this, screaming out for it, and actually want it. And that's partly the reason we exist.
I have read your constitution, but not being a lawyer, there are aspects that you have to reread to try and get some sense of it. So I'm asking you for clarification. If you need new board members for whatever reason, who picks those?
So from this point moving forward, when we have a vacancy and we appoint new board members, it's up to the advisory group to source that and to recommend, and then that would go to a vote. But ultimately, the Guardians can override that as well. And
the advisory board, who decides who's on that from now on? You're right, the Constitution is complicated and I've got it here and I'd have to refer to it. That's all right, I'm sure I'll have you back in the studio at some point, but okay.
We haven't got to that point yet, to be honest with you. We've been so busy kind of getting everybody on board and getting people.
But I assume though that, these are questions that, you need to be aware of. This is a public, even if it's not run by the public, it is a public organisation and you're going to be under a hell of a lot of scrutiny because of what just happened, but also the nature of this community. So the final question about the board, about the governance, really is about the Guardians. Then, so how will future Guardians be picked?
You'd have to ask the Guardians around that.
So it's them; they decide.
Yeah, I guess so. You'd have to really ask them.
I mean, I understand you're new to this role, and I understand this is a new organisation, and it's not until things like this are tested that kinks are ironed out, I suppose. But there are some gaps there potentially.
Yeah.
And this has been a problem with Auckland Pride. Their constitution has created, or the interpretations of their constitution have created some real fundamental problems. So I guess it's really important in a governance sense that you get it right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't necessarily agree with you that the Auckland Pride Constitution has created problems for themselves, though. I think they have a constitution. I think they have a process, and I think they've run that process. Put simply, we have a constitution. We have a job description for a board member. We have a job description for the advisory group members, and like I said, we're very methodical and very robust in terms of that. We have only just been set up and positions have been appointed. We did advertise and we have actually taken on people that are unknown to us. I'm one of them, in actual fact, that expressed an interest and were put through a selection process and appointed. From this point onwards, when a vacancy exists, then as I said, board members will be referred as from the advisory group and we'll go through our constitution process at that point going forward.
That was Matt Bagshaw, the chair of Rainbow Pride Auckland. Obviously, there's still lots to do, but I do wonder whether Auckland is big enough to have two Pride organisations. I guess only time will tell. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. I'm Andrew Whiteside.